Well, last time on the Classic Review at Armageddon 2003, Evolution claimed all the championships on Raw, solidifying their place as the dominant stable in WWE. So 6 years later, when TNA tried the same thing, what would happen? Only one of the worst pay-per-views in modern times, of course. Welcome to TNA Victory Road 2009 from July 19th at the Impact Zone in Orlando, Florida. This show was nominated by Stephen Arangi, John Averick, James Matone, Dylan Carter, Frosty Rabbit, Bryant Heath, Andy Savardi, Chris Thompson, and Nick Pelletier over on patreon.com/wrestlingwithregret. At Slammiversary, Kurt Angle regained the TNA Championship after getting an assist from Samoa Joe, who at the end of the King of the Mountain match swerved and handed him the belt so he could hang it up. So now Samoa Joe is part of the Main Event Mafia. Sting has been forced out of the group. Angle is now the godfather of the MEM, and now the group itself is looking to take over the rest of the company. 1,100 people in the Impact Zone, 35,000 pay-per-view buys, up about 10K from last year's event. Mike Tenay and DW, Don West, are on commentary here. Your opening match for the Knockouts Championship as Tara defends against Angelina Love of the Beautiful People. Tara, the former Victoria, debuted for TNA a couple of months ago and immediately went after the Beautiful People. That's Love, Velvet Sky, and Madison Rayne. A couple of weeks before this show on Impact, Tara threatened to place her tarantula poison on Velvet Sky, but Angelina offered herself and her championship up for a match to save her. Tara beats her and wins the title, so here's the return bout. Tara starts out strong, bringing Angelina back into the ring and flipping her over by her hair, a tarantula in the ropes. She begins to attack the Beautiful People, and that allows Angelina to get back on top, working the champion's back in a big top rope clothesline. We get a double down. Tara makes a fiery comeback, the right hands, the flapjack, the moonsaults. Velvet Sky on the apron goes to hit Tara with a hairspray, but she hits Angelina instead. Tara can't capitalize, though, as the referee ejects the Beautiful People. Tara misses a top rope moonsault. She would have overshot anyway. Love covers. Tara getting her foot on the ropes. Referee does not see it, though. Counts a 3. Angelina regains the Knockouts title. Tara gives referee Slick Johnson a kick for his efforts, then hits Love with the Widow's Peak, brings out Poison. Angelina hightails it out of there, so Tara lays the tarantula on the ref, and he's freaking out, as would I. I give it 1 star out of 5. You know, these two clearly were not given a whole lot of time for this match, this opening contest, so they did the best they could. It's what you would call a good 5-minute match, but that's about all you can really get out of this thing. I don't understand why you'd have Tara win the belt only to have her lose it 2 weeks later, and you have this Slick Johnson controversy, which they will address later in the show, and oh boy, it's going to be a doozy. Mike and Don West break down the card. Then we've got JB backstage with the reorganized Main Event Mafia. TNA champ Kurt Angle's interviewed. He's asked if the prophecy of the MEM taking over TNA comes through tonight. Kurt responds by telling the viewers at home, do not expect a quality pay-per-view match with he and Mick Foley tonight. Brother, you could have just lost the word match from that sentence and it still would have applied. He warns the rest of the group if the Mafia does not win all their matches tonight, they are going to be fired. And speaking of the Mafia, recent applicant Matt Morgan takes on Daniels. No, not Christopher Daniels, just Daniels is all he's got here. At some point he must have lost his first name, but it's good to know he eventually gets it back. The Blueprint has been doing some of the MEM's dirty work lately, wants to officially join the group, but Angle says he's got to go through Daniels first to be considered. And Morgan has already shown his dominance against Daniels in the build to this thing, even Pillmanizing Daniels' leg a couple weeks ago. Morgan with the power from the jump of this match, throwing Daniels out, working him over, but the smaller Daniels is resourceful, hits a missile dropkick, but Morgan is still too strong. Even a suicide dive can't take the Blueprint down, but a springboard moonsault does the job. Daniels re-aggravates the leg injury, though. Morgan regains control, just toying with him, attacking the leg. Daniels makes a comeback after dodging some leg drops, keeps avoiding Morgan's attacks. He counters a slam into a DDT and a 2 count, goes to the BME, but his leg gives out, is laid out with a carbon footprint. It's elevator time. Morgan hits it and wins. I give it 2 stars out of 5. Told a pretty basic story, but they did a pretty good job with it. All told, it was very, at least it was a clean match, I would say. As far as Matt Morgan and his chances of joining the Main Event Mafia, that never really comes to fruition. He's just, I know how the membership change-ups happen at this point in the Main Event Mafia, and I know that he's just not there. Backstage with Dr. Stevie and Daphne. He's asked why he thinks it's a good idea to fight Abyss after torturing him for so long. Stevie compares Abyss to a special work of art, one that takes years to create. Stevie ups the ante by making the match no DQ. He says he owns Abyss, mind, body, and soul. Then Daphne and Stevie have a bit of a Han Solo, Princess Leia moment.
I love you.
I know.
We go to that match now as Abyss takes on Dr. Stevie, aka Stevie Richards. Now, according to storyline here, Abyss has been seeing Dr. Stevie for almost 10 years to treat his mental health problems. So apparently Stevie was just moonlighting as a therapist for Abyss in the years he was working in ECW and WWE. But Dr. Stevie is evil, shown torturing Abyss with cattle prods, drugging him at times, even kidnapping Abyss's girlfriend, Lauren the Interviewer. But you see, he's only doing it for Abyss's own good. Anyway, now Abyss wants revenge, as is expected. Dr. Stevie's entrance video using the same font I had on my old website. Stevie opens up right away by striking Abyss with a baton. Abyss chasing Richards up the ramp, beats him up a little bit. Back into the ring, Abyss absorbs Stevie's shots and takes him down with just one. Fighting into the crowd when Stevie tries to escape. Abyss on top and Richards now bleeding. Abyss ripping off Stevie's scrubs, which seems like a perfectly good waste of white gear and blood. Stevie gets the bejesus beaten out of him. Abyss finally hits the shock treatment, but he picks Stevie up. No, he's not done yet. Daphne's got the taser, but then girlfriend Lauren shows up and beats up Daphne. Stevie grabs the taser in the ring, runs at Abyss, but walks right into a black hole slam. Now it is Abyss who has the taser, sticks Stevie with it, and we get the burning flesh and the smoke. Abyss pins and wins. This one gets 2.5 stars out of 5 for me. It's actually one of the better matches on this card, which unfortunately isn't saying much. That being said, it is a fun brawl. It is exactly what is expected to be out of these two. It's very cathartic. This is not an evenly fought match at all. It's very much like Stevie getting the hell beat out of him for like 95% of this thing. But there's a couple of those moments where you think, oh no, it's going to cost Abyss in the end, but I'm glad it didn't go that route. Backstage, Mick Foley chatting with Beer Money Inc. and AJ Styles, the other champions putting their belts on the line against the Main Event Mafia. Foley reminds them that all their jobs are in jeopardy if the Mafia sweep the titles, gives some tips to Beer Money and Styles about their respective opponents. Let's do it for TNA, gang! Yay! Up next, Team 3D defend the IWGP Tag Team Championships against the British Invasion. That's Brutus Magnus and Doug Williams. Brother Ray and Devon, by the way, I'll probably alternate between Brother Ray and Bully Ray for this portion of the review, just out of habit. Anyway, Brother Ray and Devon won the belts at Wrestle Kingdom 3 earlier in the year, back in January. The British Invasion debuted back in April, and they've been just a thorn in Team 3D's side ever since. At Slammiversary, they cost Team 3D the tag belts against Beer Money. Then a few weeks later, the #1 contendership against Steiner and Booker T. Team 3D make their entrance, Bully holding up a fan's dirty American flag, and it gets a USA chant. Doug Williams and Devon start off, Doug showing the disrespect early on. Bully responds with some kind of silly interpretation of a British dance. Magnus and Williams do some sneaky double teaming that allows them to take over. Rob Terry, the muscle of the group, stops the what's up. He headbutts Bully. The referee, Slick Johnson, looked like a big fucking idiot in this show. Between the opening contest, which is storyline related, and this match, which I don't think his actions here are related to the story in the grander scheme of things between the British Invasion and Team 3D. But in this match, he looks like a big old idiot. Just the amount of times he gets distracted and just in plain sight with all this cheating, which, by the way, the crowd is almost dead silent toward. Though there is a nice double regal cutter on Bully here. Magnus looks green as hell in this match, and I can't get over, again, how bad Slick Johnson looks throughout this thing. Also, can't help but notice how, Don West at this point is definitely a heel on commentary. Definitely has favorites and stuff. He picks his side and leans towards heels. But when he doesn't really have a dog in the fight, like in this one, he just sounds tired. He sounds really tired on commentary here, not really advocating for the British Invasion because, hey, they're heels, but they're anti-American heels, and I guess that doesn't compute with Don West. Bully spears Magnus and tags in Devon, who goes on a big run. We get the what's up. They get the table out, but Team 3D is cut off, and as Slick struggles mightily with the table, we get a miscommunication with Rob, Terry, and Williams. Terry's ejected. 3D on Williams. The match is over. Thank God. The British Invasion will go on to win the IWGP tag titles later on in America as part of TNA, but New Japan did not sanction the match and doesn't even recognize it for a month after it happens. Then in run some of the British Invasion's associates, Sheikh Abdul Bashir, aka Sean Daivari, and Kiyoshi. They run in and beat down the champs, but 3D comes back, powerbombing Sheik through a table to give the fans one more pop. I give this 1 star out of 5. Man, this thing sucked. There was no chemistry that I could see between the British Invasion and Team 3D. And Magnus, Nick Aldis, at 23 here, looks incredibly green. He will get better, but this is not his night here, and I think it looks really clunky. And again, I just hate how the referee looks here, especially after what happened in the opener. And speaking of which, after this matchup, we go backstage to see Slick Johnson, who just reffed a match, by the way, but looks to have not broken a sweat or out of breath. He's interviewed about blowing the call at the end of the Knockouts title match. He admits he made a mistake and he feels terrible about it, but his decision is final. He says he'll appeal to authority figure Jim Cornette for a rematch to try and make up for it, though. And boy, I tell you, that tag team match was rough, but it can't get much worse than that, right? Right? Up next, Sharmell of the Main Event Mafia takes on Jenna Morasca from TV's Survivor and the Main Event Mafia. Believe me, it doesn't make much more sense to me than it does to you. So Jenna debuts for TNA back in March as Kevin Nash's valet, and so she's an associate then with the Main Event Mafia. She and Sharmell just bickering all the while for whatever reason as this angle goes on. We find out at around Slammiversary that Jenna is the financial backer for the Mafia, and with her millions of dollars she's made from Survivor and other endorsement deals, is helping bankroll the group. So now things have reached a boiling point between Jenna and Sharmell, and in a few minutes they'll boil over with Me Too. Sojo bolts in Sharmell's corner, Awesome Kong in Jenna's corner. This poor woman. Morasca with an entrance that is somehow more blatant than when the beautiful people do it. Sharmell and Kong's reactions are priceless. They lock up and things go downhill from there. Sharmell awkwardly throws down Jenna and a catfight ensues to deafening silence. Why anybody thought Morasca could hit the ropes, let alone bump, I'll never know. Sharmell is shedding feathers as she puts the Steiner recliner onto Morasca. Heh, heh, off the ropes again. Morasca with a cross body, but Sharmell back on top with some terrible slaps. Awesome Kong looking like how I feel right about now. Some standard diva spots, but Morasca comes back, gets tripped by Sojo Bolt. As Kong gets involved, we get some double teaming because I guess the match needed that extra drama. Somehow the fans begin to clap for Jenna to come back, and come back she does with some of the weakest slaps you will ever see. Followed up with some axe handles that make mine look good. Then we get the steamroller spot with Earl Hebner because of course we do. Bolt gets on the ropes, gets knocked off. Kong tries and fails to catch her. Looks pretty scary. Kong playing with a lock of Sharmell's hair. She gives it back to Sharmell, then takes her out. Morasca then sits on Sharmell's chest to pin and win. Thank fuck this match is over, but we're not done yet. Jenna's got Kong holding her up on her shoulder, then gets mad and slaps Kong for whatever reason. Kong knocks her down and flattens her, and now Jenna appears to be dead from being flattened by Kong. Hooray! This match is definitely the worst I've seen on pay-per-view. You know what? Van Hammer and Doug Summers give this one a run for its money, but there's no debating just how terrible and how ill-conceived this match was. You know what? Brian Alvarez said it best when he first coined the phrase, -5 stars. And quite frankly, there's nothing else I could say about this match that's any more damning than what's been said by others and what you see in this footage. JB backstage with Kevin Nash. What about the pressure of that Main Event Mafia sweep Kurt ordered? Nash says that he and Booker and Scott's opponents tonight are in the same place now they were several years ago. Damn, the truth hurts. Nash says if he can't get it done tonight, he'll retire, but guarantees he's winning the Legends Championship. And on we go to that match for the Legends title. AJ Styles defends against big sexy Kevin Nash. AJ is the second ever Legends Champion. Booker T was actually the one who introduced the belt several months ago as part of the Main Event Mafia, a belt just for the legends in the upper echelon of wrestling, and AJ beat him for it not too long after that. And this belt, by the way, would go on to be rebranded the Global Championship, the Television Championship, and finally the King of the Mountain Championship until it was deactivated in 2016. And the big story in this match is that Kevin Nash is one of those bad old veterans who's just in it for the money. He doesn't love the game like the younger wrestlers do. And AJ's comeback is like, I'd wrestle for free, which now that I think about it is one of the bigger problems with the business as a whole. Too many guys working for free. AJ trying to outpace Nash early on, going for takedowns, flipping around to throw Nash off his game. Kevin overpowers Styles in the corner though, boots Styles off the top rope, and AJ tumbles down to the floor. Nash goes for the jackknife, but AJ fights out of it, goes after Nash with many punches and leg attacks, gets him in a reverse cloverleaf even. Takes Nash down again with the Pele kick. DW on commentary saying, normally that kick ends the match. No, it doesn't, Don, shut up. AJ goes with phenomenal forearm, but Nash shoves the referee and it throws Styles off his game, walks right into a choke slam, and that's it apparently. Nash wins the match and is the new Legends Champion. That came out of nowhere. I give it 1 star out of 5, and you know what? I'll give credit where it's due for Kevin Nash for selling and taking a beating in this thing, but it does not play to either man's strengths because AJ, no pun intended, but the styles clash here. AJ's got to slow down a lot, and Nash spends most of this match lying down. Doesn't play to anyone's strengths here. And then the finish, again, fan referee kind of being involved in the thing, making Styles look kind of dumb, and that finished the one choke slam after taking such a beating. Just, yeah, came out of nowhere, and it sucked. Lauren's back in the locker room, hoping to get a word with Tara after what happened in the opener, but then we see Slick Johnson coming out of the shower, putting his shirt back on, then Madison Rayne and the beautiful people shortly after him. I have a couple of questions with this. Like, okay, first of all, these two are allegedly just having sex in the middle of this live pay-per-view. Clearly very unprofessional, as I've mentioned before on this review. And second of all, how could these two have been in the shower and not heard like Lauren doing her stand-up and like, so we're waiting to hear from Tara, and like these two people who are heavily implicated in Tara being screwed over now, they don't think to hear her. Oh, we better hide because we just got done fucking in the shower, better not pop out where the camera might be. Oh, and in case you're curious, this whole angle of Slick working with the beautiful people barely lasts the rest of the month and ends very disappointingly. TNA tag titles up next as Beer Money Incorporated, that's James Storm and Robert Roode, defend against Scott Steiner and Booker T of Main Event Mem, Main Event Mem, Main Event Mem Mafia. I will say it's interesting how Booker and Scott became tag team partners at this point in their careers, when I've talked about before on the classic review how like these two guys have been kind of intertwined for so long and really were kind of one of the main like just deep running rivalries in WCW through multiple levels in the card all the way into the end of the company. And now they're in TNA as partners. And it's just, you know, it's one of those crazy things in wrestling. Beer Money work well together early on, but then Booker trips James Storm from the outside, allowing Steiner to take over. Storm worked over for a good long time, but the Cowboy finally counters and hits Steiner with a tornado DDT. Hot tag to Roode, who's all over the challengers. Nice double team to Big Papa Pump. Booker cuts off Storm, and that allows the MEM to get back on top. Storm spraying Steiner in the face with a beer, causing him to bump his hand into Hebner's face, and now he is terribly blinded. DWI to Steiner, but the ref's out of position, then pulled out of the ring by Booker, but Storm's left holding the bag. An axe kick by Booker to Roode on the ropes. Steiner with the roll-up. Hebner somehow faster, getting back into the ring than James Storm and makes the 3 count. Booker and Steiner are the new tag champs. JB interviewing them at ringside afterward. Booker and Steiner with a fiery post-match promo that I actually really enjoyed. That being said, I gotta give it 2 out of 5 stars. It's not really a bad match when you think about it. I think two teams have good chemistry here, but the finish is what got me. I mean, you gotta love a show where by this point there's like 5 matches on this card in which a referee fucks up or is out of position, and that's the finish of the match. Backstage, Lawrence with Samoa Joe asking who's been mentoring him. Gee, with that black towel over his head and the arms crossed, I fucking wonder. He says we're going to find out who the advisor is later tonight, and he will deliver Sting's head on a platter for him soon enough. That match is next as the man called Sting goes against the man called Joe. Earlier in the year, Samoa Joe returned to action after a Main Event Mafia beatdown, was targeting them one by one with a very scary looking sword, but Swerve at Slammiversary, he ends up helping Kurt Angle regain the championship. He is now a member of the Main Event Mafia, but this all goes down behind Sting's back. Sting, of course, is the godfather of the Main Event Mafia. He says that punks like Joe are the reason this group was formed in the first place, but it's a bit of a mutiny against Sting because they say Kurt Angle's plan is working, Sting's is not. Sting is forced out of the group. Wow, Sting being betrayed? Who'd have thunk it? Also in the high package, they're like, who's Joe's mystery advisor? But Taz branding is all the fuck over this thing. Like, what mystery is there at this point? I thought like the logo showing up on the screen in the run-up to the Rumble 2000 for the match with Kurt Angle was a dead giveaway. This is just like, this is the blatantest of blatant. Slick Johnson back out here for this match. He is just full of energy tonight. Starts off with a brawl, fighting on the outside. Sting throws Joe into a fans cross the line sign. Joe suplexing Sting on the ramp, then diving out of the ring onto Sting. Sting's hair and makeup totally ruined at this point as Joe continues the beatdown. Sting counters out of a sleeper with a backdrop and both men are down. Sting with the clothesline, then an enziguri, the Stinger splash, and the Scorpion Deathlock. But then some music plays and it's Taz. What a shock. He walks down to the ring. Sting just lets go of the hold for no reason and Joe fires up. Tries to go for the muscle buster, but it turns to shit. He gets the Coquina clutch locked in and Sting is out. Joe wins and now Taz is there too. No doubt about it, Cole. I give it 2 stars out of 5. I thought the match was okay. There was some good intensity. I like the story told, but the finish again kind of falling apart when Sting couldn't get up for the muscle buster, and then Taz, the reveal of Taz showing up was barely a reveal. There's no surprise. Like everyone could have seen that coming based on what we saw in the hype package. Although I will say though, seeing this segment here gives me a lot of backstory filling in about why Taz and Sting may have been beefing in AEW this whole time. We get a video package about the newly signed Bobby Lashley making his way to TNA. He's doing a radio interview talking about how he's coming back to wrestling, about wanting to fight Brock Lesnar, and we're still waiting. Jeremy Borash backstage with the former world champion Mick Foley, who is the last man in the way of the Main Event Mafia's plans of domination. Foley with the promo of the night, and probably one of my favorite parts of the entire show is his backstage promo. He says people don't think he's a great wrestler, but he does know how to cause pain, and he will exploit Kurt's weakened neck to regain the title, and if he wants Kurt to beat him, he has to beat him. In your main event, the future of TNA hangs in the balance as Kurt Angle, the godfather of the Main Event Mafia, defends his world championship against Mick Foley, who is still an executive shareholder in TNA and kayfabe here, so he's made himself this rematch. Like I said, the future of the company hangs in the balance here. Can Main Event Mafia control the whole shebang? Mick Foley has also said in the build-up to this, he has only tapped out once in his career, and he vows never to do it again, which kind of telegraphs how this is going to go. Kurt Angle not looking in the best shape of his career at this point, which goes without saying. I mean, he is still going through a lot of problems, a lot of demons at this point in his career. He's going into this match hurt. What a shock. He wrestles a lot of this match with kind of a 1,000-yard stare. It looks really scary. Actually, the first glance I saw Kurt in this show kind of reminded me of Nick Gage. MD Kurt all fucking day! The match begins with some mat wrestling. Nice. Foley with some offense on the champ, the suplex back into the ring, goes for a pile driver on the outside, but Kurt backdrops him as his legs fall on the steel steps. Always looks gnarly. Angle working the leg, gets the ankle lock, but Foley escapes. Kurt going for the moonsault and predictably missing. Foley comes back with a double arm DDT and a kick out. Out comes Sacco, but Kurt moves and we have a ref bump. What a shock. A low blow and an Angle slam, but Foley kicks out. Angle hits the elbow on the referee. Angle grabbing a chair with some evil intentions, but Foley gets the mandible claw in, hits the cactus elbow on the concrete floor. Back in the ring, Foley wraps the legs around Kurt and gets the claw back in. Kurt fights out, gets the ankle lock back in, but we have a rope break. Kurt gets the hold back on, and Foley taps, and the crowd barely reacts. So for only the second time in his career, Mick Foley has submitted. Kurt retains the championship. The Main Event Mafia sweep the show. The rest of the group comes into the ring and celebrate their fortunes as we get a recap of the night and we go off the air. This one gets 2.5 stars, almost in spite of itself, because I don't think it's a good idea to put Kurt and Mick in a match like, in any kind of one-on-one match by themselves when they're in their respective points in their careers and where they are in their health for a variety of reasons. They did the best they could, though. They worked a fine match, I guess. 2.5 is probably the best I could give it. Probably is the best match of the night, but it's not really saying much, sadly. My grade for TNA Victory Road 2009 is an F. This show is just bad across the board. There are a couple of okay, decent matches here, but that's not enough to save this thing. And if we're going to compare, Armageddon 2003, Victory Road 2009, Evolution, Main Event Mafia, winning all the gold at the end. That is about where the similarities between these two shows begin and end. Because as meh as Armageddon 2003 was in the grand scheme of things, you didn't have 2/3 of their matches determined by some kind of referee fuckery. You don't have them giving away a surprise over and over again like they did with Taz here in 2009. And you don't have the worst match in pay-per-view history between Jenna Morasca and Sharmell. I think I've made my case. If you want to play a role in determining which shows I look at, be they good, bad, or somewhere in between, go to patreon.com/wrestlingwithregret, become a $10 backer or above, and you'll have the chance to nominate classic shows for me to review. Well, next time I'm going back to the year 1995 in WCW, my 4th show of the year for this company, looking back at Starrcade 95. I'm Brian Zane, and I'll see you next time.